Hey everybody, it's Matt Carney. I'm playing a show at Ybor City at the Ritz on September 27th. You should be there. It's going to be awesome. Bring a friend. Come be my friend. And this is a ghost levitating selfie. What? Oh, that chord won't be there. That chord will be there. Just like you. Hey everybody, we are Nick Chance and we're gonna come to Tampa on October 10th to play a show at the Ritz Ybor, so just click now to get your tickets.
Cigar City Radio is sponsored by No Clubs and StateMedia.com. Find out about upcoming concerts in Tampa Bay by visiting StateMedia.com and tagging No Clubs on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Use the hashtag #WeAreConcerts.
Welcome to Cigar City Radio, episode number 84. The song you just heard was Constance by Big Bliss from the album At Middle Distance, which will be out October 19th via Exit Stencil Records. I'm your host, Randy Ojeda, and making the magic happen, a man who is very sick. And I don't mean sick in the head, I mean physically sick, Mr. Jason Solanas.
Hey Randy, my throat is covered in phlegm.
Yeah, I can hear that. Yeah.
Can you guys hear it?
I won't make you speak anymore. You've done enough today.
Thank God.
All right. Our guest on this episode is Maxwell Kahn, the founder of a little booking collective based in NYC called Ears to Feed. Maxwell has been a friend of ours for a while. He actually introduced us to our intern, his brother, Christopher Kahn, who's also on this episode and is 19. Yeah, he's 19. And he now works at Starbucks as of today. Congratulations, Christopher, as your job at Starbucks.
I'm coming for my coffee, motherfucker.
Yeah. Free coffee for Cigar City management for life from Starbucks. But Maxwell Kahn is awesome. He's really plugged into the New York scene and the greater music scene. He works with a lot of up-and-coming bands, puts together some of the coolest shows in New York, and is really just an awesome guy to talk to. I got to know him a little better this year at South by Southwest. We were crashing at the same pad for a couple nights, and he's just a cool guy. So thanks for coming on the show, Max. He was in town visiting his family and his friends, and took the time to come and sit with us, so we really appreciate that. He's also throwing the Big Bliss album release show, which is happening October 20th at Alphaville, featuring special guests Grim Streaker, Flexi, and Gustav, as well as a DJ set by Eaters. So that's going to be a banger of a show. Obviously, we're a little biased because we love Big Bliss and we manage them, but that album is going to be incredible. You should definitely be at the release show for At Middle Distance, and you should follow Ears to Feed and everything that they're doing at facebook.com/ears to feed or at ears to feed on the socials. You can find them on the socials. They're not hard. Ears to Feed. Who else is feeding ears? Only Maxwell Kahn. So here it is, episode 84. Undisclosed location in Carrollwood, and we're hanging out with the Kahn brothers, or is it the Can brothers? I ask this all the time. Can or Kahn?
We spoke about this a few days ago, but if it's a formal thing, I'll say it's Kahn.
Kahn.
If it's for our friends, and it's Can.
Can.
Or you could choose.
No, I want to do the right
It's
thing.
can.
Yeah.
Can.
Come out of the womb of Star Wars.
Can.
A
But if
Star
it's in an
Trek fan.
interview,
Yeah.
say Khan, like Khan, like the Wrath of Khan.
Right. So if you're a
Trekkie.
longtime listener of the show, you might know the voice of Christopher Kahn, who is our intern, who you did Slow Dive, right? Slow Dive was the first interview that you
That
did?
was the first interview I ever did. Yeah.
Yeah, and you did a good job with that. So if you listen to the Slow Dive episode, that was Chris Kahn. We're sitting with his brother now, Maxwell Kahn, who's in town from New York. Maxwell runs a little booking collective based in NYC. I'm reading this off your Facebook page.
Oh,
I wanted
yeah.
to get it right. Called Ears to Feed. So tell us what is Ears to Feed? What do you do?
Just small booking company. Started about 3 years ago. And it's just grown from like this year has probably been like our biggest year. Like it's the first time we had flew a band out from out of town, Cold Beat. And then just getting like industry attention and being able to work with agents now. So it's slowly and steadily like gaining its level. I mean, we're still competing with Popka and Ad Hoc, and they're the big boys on the scene. But it's growing, and it's really fun. Putting shows together.
You've been telling me for a while that Bombara is one of the best bands in New York. So what is it about that band that you love so much?
I mean, first off, they're like amazing people. It's two brothers, so it reminds me of they're super close, just like me and my brother are. But there's just like a certain energy and a certain heaviness. Where I say they're the best band in New York, I'm going to leave that up to other people to decide. For me, I think that's Uniform, which is a lot more heavier than Bombara. But Bombara is definitely within like our scene is like, they're just going places, and it's really cool. Like they did Audio Tree yesterday, and they're touring around the country, and they're going to tour with Idols from the UK in the fall. So
Right.
yeah,
And they're touring with Algiers right now, right?
they did 3 dates with Algiers, but they toured with Algiers in the past. They're like close Atlanta friends. So yeah.
So how do you find these bands? Like, how do you like this band from Chicago you were just talking about, or Shame? Like, where did you initially hear of Shame?
Just internet.
Shane got like cover of NME before South by. Like they were everywhere, right?
I found them through a Pitchfork. They were like on a Pitchfork festival in Paris, and name sounded kind of cool, so I just clicked on it and I watched it. And I was like, "Holy shit! This band is so just so great." And now they're one of the biggest bands in Europe now, and they're all.
Well, they're one of those bands that's like undeniably good. Like even if it's not your thing, or like you don't listen to that type of music, like you watch them and you see their performance and you can just see how passionate they are. And it's like, and it's unique and original, and there's not a lot like that,
Yeah. And the UK has got like a really good scene right now.
Yeah.
I don't know when you were over there, which bands you got to see. Who'd you see in the UK?
There were some really cool bands that opened for Fruit and Flowers while we were over there. There was a great band from Brighton called The Sit Down. They were really cool. There is I'm trying to think of other bands. It all starts to blend together, when you're on tour, because like you see so many shows. But that's one of the cool things about doing a tour like that is like we kind of got to see every scene's like best look, because we're the touring band from New York. So the bands that were opening for them were, the best band in that scene, you'd think,
Yeah.
Man, I wish I had more names off the top of my head, but The Sit Down was one that really jumped out to me.
That's cool.
God, there's another band in London that was super dope. And I bought their tape, but the name's just blanking on me right now. And that they might listen to this and then be really mad at me on Twitter. So remind me of who you were in London, because your band was awesome. God, and they had a cool name too. And I'm just totally drawing a blank. You know what? I'm going to look it up while you tell me more about. So So the internet is how you find bands, basically.
Yeah, I mean,
obviously
through
Where else
that,
would-
through
where else would people find anything.
yeah.
Let's be more specific.
Just
be more specific.
Just everything is found on the internet these days. No, I mean it's either through that or like a mutual friend just introduces me or shoots me over a link, which is the same way we find bands. So yeah, I mean going to shows like literally almost every night, either working shows, doing box office, doing sound, just being in that environment all the time. It's crazy seeing like at least 16 bands a week, but
That's a shit ton of bands, man.
it's a lot of bands. Sometimes two shows in the same night. So you'll go from like, the indie rock noise bill into like the straight hardcore show, like that starts at like midnight and goes until like 3 on a Thursday.
That's one of the beauties of being in New York is that you can do all that and you can go to like 3 or 4 shows in a night and it's not impossible.
Yeah.
So I did that at Northside. I went to like 5 or 6 shows that night.
Who'd you see at Northside that you thought was like, really, I don't know.
Sloppy Jane was impressive.
Surprisingly, I haven't seen her yet.
Yeah, I would see that show. Sloppy Jane was really very cool. Big Bliss as always was really awesome. Yeah. I know that's a totally biased choice, but Big Bliss was definitely really cool. And who else did I see at Northside? Russian Baths, like I already said, they were incredible.
Saw half of Grooms of that during that set too.
Yeah, that was good. That was the first time I'd seen them too. Everybody at your show was really good because I was a little disappointed in some of the like local-esque shows at Northside. I guess I can go on record saying that. Like, I think the bigger shows were all really, really good, but some of the smaller shows I thought were kind of uninspired. It was like the kind of thing that you could see any weekend in New York, but I thought your show in particular like had such a strong lineup that I could tell why people were hanging out there all night, because it was like every band on there was good. And if I didn't have, so many other obligations that night, I would have probably hung out there all night too. So kudos to you for like actually, putting on a show.
It's the Big CD, man.
What's that?
It's the Big CD. Did you see it?
Big ZD?
Yeah.
Tell me about this.
So within New York City DIY circles, my aunt, my family cooks up Big CD, and I bring it to every show. And it's gained like its own sort of...
There's a cult following in New York.
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Yes.
It has its own dedicated Instagram page too.
Dude, how have I not had this Big ZD?
It's
You didn't bring any for this? You should have brought some for the podcast.
I mean, that would have been difficult given traveling.
Oh, no. Okay,
issues.
so she actually makes it.
Yeah, she actually makes it from scratch in the morning.
It's not just you doing her recipe. It's her making Big
Yeah,
ZD.
yeah. She has like this old school
So where
recipe.
the fuck is our Big ZD, man?
Yeah, I know.
God,
The next time
amazing.
you guys are up in New York, just let me know.
she's
Oh,
up
for
like
sure.
the night before.
Yeah.
making it.
The sauce is already made the
I
night
would feel
before.
bad asking for that Big ZD then. If she's up the night before making Big ZD.
She loves it. It's
She
like
she has a,
lives
she
for it.
yeah
Fuck
she
it.
loves
I'll
cooking.
eat me some
Wow.
Big ZD next time we're in New York.
Yeah.
I can't believe I missed this at Northside. Or where I didn't even.
It
see
was
Big
it
ZD.
was
probably
right
Denver
behind the tent
Yeah.
because Secret Project Robot just has like these crazy art installations.
Yeah.
But it was like right behind one of the tents, and like all the bands were like eating it. Was it? Yeah, everyone's usually pretty surprised. Like Colby coming from San Francisco, they were like, "Oh shit, there's actually food here." That never happens. And like it helps you out because like if there isn't, because not every show is a huge success. So like if there isn't like a crazy amount of people, at least like
You get
the
some
band,
food.
the bands instead of just getting 2 drink or maybe 1 drink ticket per band member and then like 2 guest list spots. Like, no, here's some food because like we appreciate like the fact that you wanted to do a show with us. So
Well, I mean, we were just talking about the UK and like over there, Like that's much more common, you know, especially in the EU and like in Europe. Like they want to feed you, like they feed you so much that like you get sick from all the food that they feed you, you know. And that's kind of a cool way to like, you know, hey, you know, thanks for coming to our town, thanks for doing our show. Like here's some food, you know. Like,
yeah,
here's,
because
like,
you're
let's break
you're
bread, you know,
hungry and starving, and
Yeah.
you know, music. Nobody's making any money off music, so
And that's really cool because in New York, you know, there's so many other venues and so many other places to play that, like, you know, and so many bands that are striving to be on all those stages that it's like people kind of don't give a shit on both sides. You know, like sometimes bands don't try as hard because they're just like, it's just another one of millions of New York shows. And then sometimes, you know, agents and promoters don't try as hard because, you know, it's just another New York show, you know? So it's cool that like you actually try to give a shit, you know?
yeah. Like the Northside thing was cool because it was a really rare occurrence in promoting where like every single band member, myself promoting, and then like friends of mine who were just going to the show were just like even like shouting out. Like it does, like that rarely happens. Maybe like usually you get two bands that post, two that don't, and then like the promoter posts or sometimes doesn't,
Right.
just sends out like Facebook invites, and then you don't see anything. So it was really cool. There was like that a lot of like good energy going towards that show.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So this kind of leads into my next question, but I was going to say, like, what tips do you have for bands that are trying to get booked on shows and want to do more shows? Obviously, like promoting the show is a good thing to start doing, you know, if you're not promoting your shows. But what else would you say, you know, what do you like to see the bands that you book do? I guess I should say.
So aside from the live show, because sometimes I work with bands that don't have social media presence, so that's really tough to, you know, to market. But then again, like there's some scenes where you don't need that. Like you'll just have like a 7-inch up, and people will come to the show for some reason.
Yeah.
But mainly like send out, you know, promote as much as you can, and it just looks really great, especially like when you're trying to get on bigger bills at like Rough Trade or Music Hall or even at the Brooklyn Bazaar. Like we pay attention to that stuff. Like if you're actively showing that like you care about like having people at your show, and you have a really great sort of image on social media, and like people recognize that, and you know, you're just able to get people in the room, then, you know, it just helps you out as a band, instead of just like doing one post or not even mentioning that the show is even going on, because that happens so many times.
Yeah.
You know? So you just got to stay on top of bands. That's like that's the other thing. Like when you promote, just make sure like you're like, you know, tagging all the bands and even tagging the promoter, making sure they're up on their stuff, because sometimes promoters slack. So yeah, it's a team effort to make sure that, you know, people come out to the show, because there's a million shows in New York.
Yeah. Well, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
It definitely makes sense.
So what's going on here in Tampa? I've yet to see what's going on. I know Crowbar has a lot of good shows coming up.
Crowbar has a lot of good shows coming up. There's a lot of cool stuff happening over in St. Pete too. The Benz always has good shows. You know, Janus, always good shows at Janus and State Theater, of course. Shout out to No Clubs, our sponsors. You know, we have to give them some love, right?
What's up, No Clubs?
What's up, No Clubs? No, for real though.
Kristen and Tony.
Yeah, No Clubs brings a lot of really like good national talent to the area, which is always great to see.
Do you know what's this
Lil
guy?
Wayne? No, I do not.
I was just gonna
Funny
like
you should ask about
how
Lil Wayne. Yeah,
Aestheticize presents.
yeah.
yeah.
Jack.
So yeah.
Jack has some amazing shows that he puts together, and does a really good job of finding the right locals. I think like he's really good at pairing locals with like, you know, this is exactly the show that this band should be on or this artist should be on. You know, so shout out to Jack. He's always putting together cool stuff, and a lot of his shows now are at Crowbar. You know, because Jack would book a lot too at New World Brewery which isn't around currently. You
Oh,
know?
it closed.
Yeah, it closed last year.
Yeah, it closed sometime last year.
Yeah.
Oh.
And that kind of sucks because it leaves a hole in that like under 100 cap
Yeah,
space.
and
you
there
know?
were prominent musicians playing at that under 100 cap, so you get really intimate shows in Tampa.
Yeah, like when Amy Ray, last time she
exactly.
was in town, she was at New World Brewery, and that was like Jason said, a really intimate show with, you know, a very prominent musician. But now that show's at Crowbar, you know, which is great. I love Crowbar, but it's a much bigger space than
And it
New
doesn't
World
fit the
was.
same kinds of singer songwriters, you know, because New World Brewery had some rock shows, but it was more focused on individual singer songwriters,
Yeah.
someone with a guitar, someone with a small band.
Yeah, you didn't want
in an
somebody
intimate
too
environment.
loud at
Exactly.
New World.
But
you know?
Amy Ray at the Crowbar is cool and everything, but it doesn't really fit that vibe because
Yeah.
Crowbar has 2 bars and an outdoor space, and they generally have like heavier hitting shows. You know, while New World Brewery was kind of a bunch of hippies, and it was cool.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. So that's the downside to the scene right now is that we're missing that small room or that small space where, you know, up and coming bands, even, you know, that New World was a great place for, you know, if it was your band's first show, you know, or one of your first shows, you know, that'd be a great place to, you know, if you could pack New World, then you can see what you have from there, you know, as opposed to trying to pack Crowbar, which is a much bigger space. That's more difficult.
How big is that space?
Crowbar is probably like 300.
Okay.
If you take indoor and outdoor,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, if you have 100, 150 people in Crowbar, it looks good, you know. But besides that, there's a lot of bands I'm excited about in the Tampa scene. One of them is Glove. They're actually going to be in New York pretty soon. I think they're playing Much More's actually.
Oh, okay.
They're doing Much More's, and I want to say Berlin. They're doing like 2 shows there.
Yep.
But they're really cool. And I'm really liking like the Tampa electronic scene right now. We talk about him a lot on the show, but like Friedback is doing some really cool stuff. If you've seen I think it's the most recent Visit Tampa Bay ads. That's Friedback's music on there now, which is kind of cool. That he's
He doesn't fuck around.
he's the
very serious.
Yeah, he's the musical ambassador to Tampa right now because he's in the ad.
Yeah.
You know, that's pretty dope.
Besides being an electronic musician, he's a fantastic producer with access to some really incredible equipment.
Yeah,
He's one of the few people sponsored by Moog.
yeah. His studio. is sick.
That's
a big-
yeah. That's
Yeah, his
pretty.
studio
That's a big
is
deal.
out of this world.
Yeah. And just recently, Dia and Saint, they just released their project with they're working with like Billy Mays, who's doing this collective of like kick-ass St. Pete musicians. So that's definitely something I'd recommend too.
D Alps is incredible.
D Alps has been kicking some
They've been
cool
improving
tunes.
noticeably.
Yeah, they're kicking out some cool music.
You got- Ooh,
I was D Alps. Like their record last year was probably my favorite record of the year. You know, and recently speaking of D Alps, Pogo is back. I don't know if you know Pogo.
No.
They were a band. Like I think this is like their first. Like they're doing their first tour in like 20 years or something.
Tampa's funny. I remember when I came back to New York from Tampa, especially going St. Vitus and stuff. Like Tampa has like is well known for their death metal scene.
Hell yeah.
So I just wanted to know is there still stuff going on with that?
Yeah, the Brass Mug has been the like purveyors of death metal and heavy metal in the scene for a long time. And now a lot of the bigger metal shows are going to Orpheum too. They've been doing a lot of big metal shows, but like the small underground Tampa metal scene is the fucking Brass Mug, man.
Okay.
That's the spot.
Always has been. Always.
Oh
will
my
be.
god, yeah.
And they upgraded.
Yeah, no. They moved to another because they used to be like in a small little strip plaza, and it was like the dirtiest, smelliest, like smokiest dive bar
Right
that
next
you could
door to a
find.
plaza, right next door to a gas station. Show up for your
That's
show.
where you want to see a metal show.
Yeah.
No, it was Jason and I used to be in a metal band back in the day.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, don't make fun. Don't make fun.
That's awesome. Yeah,
we would play the
Metal
Brass
was
Mug all
yeah.
the time, like to the point where like we weren't old enough to play in the Brass Mug, and they would just like let us come in, set up, play our songs, and then we'd have to leave right away. You know, like that was how it was there.
We always hung out outside. We always went to the racetrack, past the Rent-A-Rim or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, to the gas station, past the Rent-A-Rim, grab some Arizona iced tea, hang out outside, talk shit about people as they were walking in, play our show, and fuck off.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Yeah, it was
So
the way you do it.
that space now is like a tea shop. I think it's a tea
Kalisha
shop.
Tea.
Yeah.
Kalisha Tea moved in.
And then they moved, and then the Brass Mug moved over off Skipper Road, right, by the Army Navy store, and it's like a much bigger space than
Yeah.
it was, but it still like has that like seedy metalness to
It's
it.
metal. It's
It's
inherently
so
metal.
metal. It's
I
so
feel
metal.
like you could move the Brass Mug into a floor on the Ritz Carlton, and it would just be
It would be
fucking seedy,
still be the metalist place.
no matter what.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going on in the like local metal scene, but that's something we
Yeah.
should explore because I feel like there's probably something kick-ass happening. You know, you can't live in this kind of heat, you know, without wanting to like get loud and scream
Rage.
and worship Satan. you
Yes.
I have a high school friend, Richard Lay, who's a photographer for a local Tampa metal band called Nomadic. So
Okay.
they can get a plug. I
All
think
right.
they're going on tour soon.
Shout out to them.
No
Let's
matter.
get them on the
No-
podcast.
no
Tell us
matter.
about that Tampa metal scene. Or what about our boy Bloodbath and Beyond?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's
Connor
a great.
Head.
That's a great name.
Shout out to Connor. Yeah, that is a great band name. Bloodbath and Beyond. So, you know, there's shit happening in Tampa, man.
Deity's local.
Yeah, don't write us
No,
off.
Deicide.
Yeah,
Deicide.
well, I mean, if you're going with the you got Deicide and Obituary is originally from Tampa, you know. so,
Yeah, they
like,
play Vias pretty often.
Yeah.
I think they've played it like twice this year or 3 times this year. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's definitely a legendary death metal scene here, and I think like Morbid Angel and stuff too, and some really kick-ass bands. But we need to get more on that level. There's not enough metal on this podcast and in our lives.
Duo.
Yeah, I saw Slayer live just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
so
how
I've been
was that?
on
That's
Metal
their
Kick.
final tour, right?
Yeah, their last tour ever, and it was at the Orlando Fairgrounds, which I didn't like.
What?
know was
that's
a
where
place.
Tyler the Creator played. That's
Really?
my song, yeah.
It's a weird venue. It's
Yeah,
a weird
it
venue,
is.
and they don't really have their parking situation figured out. So
It's
if
just
anybody,
grass.
from the Orlando, if anybody from Orlando's listening, yeah, good
Park
luck parking
service.
there.
Get your
Get on your
Yeah,
shit.
get your parking situated. But Slayer more than made up for it. Like, honestly, it was the most metal show I've ever seen in my life. Like it was like what's that fucking Cartoon Network Metalocalypse? It was like Metalocalypse come to life, like with Slayer, you know, and then
Yeah.
just fire, you know, just shooting out everywhere and like just all these different they had this like projection thing with like this skull that was coming out and just so much fire. Like that was the amazing part to me was how much actual fire they had going at once. Like the logo was on fire, everything was on fire, you know.
Slide.
They had 16 Marshall stacks on stage, 8 on each side.
That's insane.
And then they had 4 bass cabinets under the drummer. So like the drummer's just
Oh,
like
jeez.
playing on top of bass, you know? like
just to make sure that he feels
Right, yeah, that he
the bass.
really feels-
the bass is happening.
dude.
Yeah.
And they're old. Slayer is old now.
Yeah.
There are some old guys, but they rocked so hard like you wouldn't believe. So that was definitely a show that I'm glad I didn't miss. I felt like I was like 12 years old again watching Slayer. It was fucking so good.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, we need to get more metal.
Yeah,
That's the theme of today.
It's funny when I moved to New York and discovering that scene, I kind of went back, like doing like some internet scouring and just trying to find out, well, what did I miss in Tampa? And I missed out on, their like merchandise when they were first
Yeah.
getting big.
Yeah.
That usually when I introduce Tampa, I'm like, well, we got merchandise. That's
Yeah.
one band.
You know what's funny is the only time I've ever seen merchandise was on Bedford Avenue.
Oh, for real? For
like,
Northside?
Yeah, like on the street, on Bedford Avenue.
Yeah.
Yeah. How ironic is that?
That's I mean, the only time I've seen them is in New York.
Yeah.
And, I'd like to see them here, but they all live in different cities now.
Yeah.
I don't even think they're going to be together anymore. I think they might have broken up. Who knows?
Dropping truth bombs over here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
Well, they moved to different cities. It's tough to be a band if you're not in the same place.
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I feel like I wouldn't be able to do that. Even just being here for like 2 weeks, like I can't really like focus on like what's going on in New York right now because I'm having so much fun down here just chilling. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So what's next for you then? What's next for Ears to Feed? What are you gonna do when you get back to New York? You go back tomorrow?
Yeah, I fly back tomorrow afternoon. I'll be back.
There's been Ears to Feed shows while you've been gone. So who's running the show up there while you're?
I have a great assistant, Emily Stambulian. She threw shows at Howard College, kind of like she had like the Sandman Club and Ritual Humor on like one of her shows, and I was like, oh shit, there's somebody who's younger than me who like knows what's going on. It's like bringing that to like some school in Uptown Manhattan. So yeah, she held it down. It was really well. I was down here seeing Weezer and Pixies, and she did her thing and like took care of the show, and it did great, especially because like there was such like a time constraint on that show. Like doors at 7, first band has to be on at 7:15.
Wow, that's
10 p.m. curfew.
Oof.
Because they got a late show after us. So 4 bands in that span of time, and like we did really well walk up wise, and it was first band from St. Louis, Shady Bug, who might get signed to I want to say it, but I can't say it. It just sucks that you can't say these things, but they're doing
things.
Yeah, they're doing things. So the Midwest has a couple of really good bands coming through right now. I mean, Ganser, Shady Bug. Chicago's got a good scene.
Chicago has a great scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely want to. I think next summer, whenever I have the chance, like I'll check out Chicago.
Yeah. One of my favorite bands from Chicago is a band called Touched by Ghoul.
Touched by Ghoul.
Yeah. And they're going to be opening for the Foo Fighters when the Foo Fighters play Wrigley Field. So how dope is that?
That's really awesome.
Yeah, so shout out to Touched by Ghoul. I saw them on a Monday night with Jason. Actually, I saw them on a Monday night in Chicago, and it was one of the best shows.
Rock and roll, dude.
Yeah, one of the best shows I've ever seen.
Minds, I've never seen people so happy about music. Well, I shouldn't say happy because people were punching each other. But
yeah, no, like people, like it was heavy. They're a perfect opening band for the Foo Fighters because it's like they're heavy, but they're not like metal. Like they're just a heavy fucking rock band.
Yeah, whoever the booking agent for the Foo Fighters or whoever is doing or picking out the bands, maybe it's just them.
Yeah.
They got some really cool openers that they bring on tour with them. Yeah. Like Idols did a show with them back 2 years ago, and then from there that's how Idols became their own thing. But like now thinking that like this heavy five kind of hardcore but like goofy hardcore band opening up for the Foo Fighters at like I think it was at the O2 Arena.
Yeah, it was like one of the biggest arenas.
Doesn't make any sense, but it was really awesome. So yeah.
Chris Can's plotting over there, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah, Chris Can's always plotting over here.
Being shady as shit.
Yeah.
It's a shady guy.
Band, but it's harder for Chris Can.
Apparently. Wow.
What can I say?
He lives
I've been waiting for you to talk.
He lives in Spring Hill. That's tough.
That's
very
all you
tough.
need to know.
Jesus.
All you need to know.
Just type in those words in any computer and just sadness.
Spring Hill.
Sadness. Complete sadness.
It's just like
Spring
schools,
Hill.
hospitals, and broken dreams.
And lots of fast food.
Yeah, if you
lots of fast food.
If you ever need to go to Five Guys and you're in Spring Hill, we know somebody to call.
Could hook you up with a nice double cheeseburger. Speaking of which, I haven't got mine yet.
Yeah, I've never gotten a cheeseburger either. Where's my cheeserburger?
I haven't worked in weeks.
You haven't been coming here, so what have you been doing?
What? Oh, my phone. Never mind.
It's there now.
Yeah.
Well, we went to Atlanta. That was fun.
I don't even want to talk to this kid.
What?
Nah.
And then I go to New York in July 10th.
We're gonna see Radiohead together.
Ah,
He's also gonna go to his first Ears to Feed show the next night.
really?
No, I think I've.
No, you haven't.
No, I worked doors at a
he knows. He
I know what
knows.
you're saying. Fuck
No,
you.
wait, I worked the door at an Ears to Feed show.
Oh wait, yeah, but that one was pretty. That doesn't count. That
Yeah,
one
it doesn't
was,
count.
Yeah,
It doesn't
that,
count.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're disqualified, Chris.
yeah.
Okay.
Actually, yeah. Big Bliss played that one.
Yeah,
The two touring bands though that were pretty
Yeah,
bad.
let's not talk.
Yeah, but Big Bliss saved the day.
as they do.
They usually do.
As they
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
So I think that's a perfect way to end this podcast. Shout out to Big Bliss, Timothy Race,
Saving
Corey
the-
Race,
Wallace.
Wallace.
Love you, Wallace.
love Wallace. Wallace is
Slaps
a
the bass.
badass. A badass.
She is one of the best bass players in Brooklyn. Yeah.